Moses here, Washington, D.C. Welcome to today's Ukraine update. I am, I don't know. I'm gonna start TikTok is what I'm gonna do. Give me a second, and we will keep talking. TikTok. Oop, and then I will have to reverse my screen. TikTok. Let's use first. Just for fun. Use first. Flowers forever. You're first. Lovely. Under first. Nope. Flowers beat you. Flowers was first. Oops. Which way is? That was mirrored. There we go. Cue the Russians. I know the Russians have been quite all over my my TikTok. Oh, Mike. There we go. Is that better? I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry. There we go. Now you hear me? Yes? I know you guys can hear me, but now is the sound? It should be on. I mean, it is on. It should be normal now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. You guys are 20 seconds behind. That's why when I have it up, as I said, this is such a good mic that when it's any farther away from my mouth, it pretty much goes dead. It intentionally doesn't pick up anything from around the room. It's very directional, which is great in a place like mine that has high ceilings. But when I forget about it, it means I'm talking and you can't hear me. Oh my, I'm crazy. Hello, everybody. As always, we'll go for about 5 minutes till about 5 after, and then we'll start the show. But I like to go till then just to give people a chance to arrive. I can talk about things other than Ukraine, but Ukraine's the big story, and therefore I've devoted most of my broadcast to Ukraine for the time being. I do get into other top news. We talked about the shootings. We talked about the insurrection. We talked about Roe v. Wade. But unless it's a top story, it doesn't bump Ukraine. So everybody, hello. And actually, folks, I don't want to fall back on our tradition. If you would mind introducing yourselves and just saying where you're from, I think it's always kind of a nice way to start. I mean, I saw what happened with CERN, but I'm not mad at you, Brendy. I'm not necessarily up on the details of the super collider and what happened. I just know a big deal happened. I've got Biden and Brittany on my list to talk about. Fret not. Let me actually number my pages. There we go. Exactly. Tell folks where you're from, because there are some new folks. I doubt Syria's all better. It never seems to be all better. That would be my guess. Boom. Oh, well, there you go. See, I still think Ukraine's important to talk about. I mean, it is important to talk about. And we've got to keep pressure. We cannot talk about my dog. You can talk about my dog. The only thing is I saved the dog talk. The dog talk is for the end of the show. Because at the end of the show, we hang out. Salut, Quebec. We hang out at the end of the show and talk a little bit ourselves about not politics. And that's where we talk about the dog. The dog. Donetsk bomber. I didn't see that. Or Donetsk. Did not see anything about a bomber. Eric de Paris. I've heard about, there's a story going around that Sasha, who's very good, another TikToker and YouTuber, put out that his mother had heard working in a hospital in Western Ukraine about soldiers in a prisoner exchange who had been castrated, of all things, Ukrainian soldiers. The only thing is, that's the kind of story I would want confirmation about first, before I would believe it. I don't mean believe it, but I mean, I was telling folks during our earlier broadcast, I don't know the full story. I don't know whether she knows it firsthand. I don't know whether somebody told her and whether that person who told her knew it firsthand. Stories move amongst multiple people and they're not always true because they move around and then you don't have the origin of the story. So I'm kind of holding back on that story until there's more detail backing it up. But oops, voice is still being funky, but that's what the hot water is for. Oh my. Anyway, Yeah, no, it came from his mom, a nurse. It did. But the question is, did his mom go and witness these guys cut off? Right? Did his mom hear about it in the hospital? Who did she hear it from? Did she hear it from somebody else who saw these guys and saw their damage? Right? That's the problem. And I have learned over like 30 years of interviewing people about stories like this that if you don't get all the details on what's going on, I don't always believe the story. I would want it to be literally his mom met with multiple of these guys who told her this is exactly what happened. Then you got an interesting story. But if the mom heard it from somebody else in the hospital, now you're already one step away. I'm not knocking Sasha. I'm just saying you need to know the whole story and what the origin is and everything else. Anyway, all right, we can get rolling here. It's my coffee cup with Ukraine on it. My sister got me from I think Amazon, but very nice. So as always, folks, I will start with the Ukraine news, and then we will jump into the Q&A. And when we get to the Q&A on TikTok, there is a Q&A function on in my profile. You'll see it. TikTok removed it from the lives, but in my profile, you'll still see Q&A. You can click that and put a question in there. On YouTube, etc. You can, I should say, Twitch. I don't want to make you all etc. Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Twitter, you're out of luck. There's no way to respond from Twitter. But for the rest of you, you can put a comment in the comment box, of course. But you can also, if the spirit moves you, is to buy a super chat question on YouTube. And by doing that, it highlights the question. So I see it, I can save it, and I promise I will always get to the super chat questions as the next topic if I can. In other words, even if we're not doing Q&A, I'll answer the super chat. And when we are doing the Q&A, I will always answer the super chat questions because I can't get to all the questions, but those as a thank you, I will. Thank you, waving firework, just me. So let me get rolling. And on TikTok, finally, thank you for the gifts. We love the gifts, the funny hats and everything else. So I always try to thank you guys as well when you throw those up there. So thank you. All right, guys. I am doing well this evening, Thomas. Thank you for asking. And let me have a little bit of my hot water again, and we'll get rolling. So lots of news today. Thank you, Crusher, for the fireworks. This was good. Lithuania had a little gathering today of 10,000 people to send off the Bayraktar drone to Ukraine that it bought. Lithuania had crowdfunded 6 million euros, which is about $6 million, or 6 million American dollars, as the Russian trolls like to say when they're pretending they're American. 6 million of our American dollars. They correct me up because we don't talk that way in English, in American English. In any case, they raised 6 million euros, $6 million, and they were going to buy a Bayraktar, which can cost around 5 million. The Bayraktar company said they would donate one for free. And all I know, according to the latest story, it's a little confusing, is only 1.5 million euros of the funds will be used to pay for the drone. And the rest of the money will go towards humanitarian aid for Ukraine. I'm not sure what that means, because supposedly the drone was going to be free, and now they're saying 1.5 million. What I'm wondering is whether they spent 1.5 million to buy them extra bombs, missiles that attach to the drone. That would be very smart. That would be very smart. So I'm hoping that's what's up. But from there, actually move on to the next story. Thank you, Iggy Woman. Thank you. Sorry, I saw that. I wanted to thank you for that. So Russia has not changed its tune. I've talked about this before, about what its goals are, but just to reiterate, Nikolai Patrushev, who's one of the hardliners, although I don't know that there's anybody who's not a hardliner nowadays, on the Russian Security Council, so he's one of Putin's top advisors, said on January 5th that the Russian military operation in Ukraine will continue until Russia achieves its goals of protecting civilians from genocide, denazifying and demilitarizing Ukraine, and obliging Ukraine to be permanently neutral between Russia and NATO, which is almost exactly what Putin declared at the beginning. Now, what makes that problematic is for anybody who's been trying to push Ukraine to say, hey, thank you, Kanausi, hey, maybe you should just, accept the fact that you've lost Eastern Ukraine and maybe the South and blah, blah, blah. Well, even Russia's so far not willing to agree. I mean, Ukraine shouldn't agree to that, I think, but even Russia's not willing to agree to that. I mean, Russia themselves are saying they want the whole kit and caboodle. They want all of Ukraine. They want regime change. They want everything. Thank you, Dan is lucky. Appreciate that. So Zelensky has said that the heavy weapons from Western allies are making a big difference and they're at full capacity on the front lines. He's pretty much, we've got a Russian who's angry. Oh, the mod's got him first. Okay. You beat me to it, mod. I do like to occasionally ban them myself, but if you get them first, that's always preferred. Thank you. Someone said, you're lying. I'm lying. Like, lying about what? I literally quoted Putin's top ally in like the papers. You're lying. Oh my, they get the talking point. I mean, this is very classic with sort of the Russians on this. They get, thank you, Mike. They get their talking points that they're told to use when joining social media, and they just use the talking points out of place. They don't actually connect it to anything. And it's one of the ways that you can tell they're a Russian troll. Like that guy, you're lying. It's like, dude, I just quoted Vladimir Putin's top advisor. Thank you, Wanda. His top advisor restating Putin's own goals. So if I'm lying, Petrushev's lying, and Putin's lying. So really? Anyway, they don't think it's amazing. Anyway, Zelensky says the heavy weapons are mattering. He's talking about the new rocket launching systems and rockets themselves that are being provided. Remember the medium range rockets that can go like 43 miles or 70 kilometers. And I'll tell you what Zelensky said, but then give you a few more details. Zelensky said the Ukrainian military has targeted Russian warehouses and other places that are important for logistics with weaponry Ukraine has received from its partners. Now, by logistics, he means supplying the troops with thank you, Lizzie, with the supplies they need to make war. They need food and water with their logistics. They need ammunition, right? They need fuel for their tanks and their trucks. And sure, they've got some to start with. I always compare it to going on a road trip, right? And you're going to drive with the family for 10 hours. Well, you've got to plan it out. You bring some food with you. You've got to stop for gas along the way. All of those, you're staying at a hotel for the night. All of those are logistics. And to have a modern military run, you've got to constantly be providing them with fuel, constantly providing them with food, with ammunition. The tank uses all of its ammunition. Where does it get new ammunition from, right? From the logistics chain. Well, it's even more important as you advance, because now, for example, these troops aren't in Russia anymore. They're in Ukraine. So they're not getting their fuel and their supplies from Ukraine. They need it shipped in from Russia, logistics. Anyway. Well, what the Ukrainians are now doing very effectively is they're using these rocket systems to target Russian logistics, especially ammunition depots, from what I'm reading. You saw some of these attacks this last weekend. We saw the attack in Belgorod, which is the Russian town right across the border northeast from Kharkiv. Oop, thank you, Netlin, and somebody else. Sorry, somebody else had some fireworks. I was going to thank you for, just me. Thank you for those. And you're seeing them bomb these cities. And again, it's logistics, warehouses and things. You're seeing them bomb in Ukraine as well, some of the logistics. So one thing in particular that was interesting is there was a really good video. I was going to do a TikTok about it, but I didn't get to it, showing some kind of warehouse that blew up in Kherson, which is great because Kherson is, I will show you on my handy dandy map. Kherson, all the way down here, probably the first large Ukrainian city that was taken over by the Russians. And Kherson, there has been a lot of partisan activity, meaning a lot of guerrillas, citizens who have, Wolverines, I tell the Americans, citizens who have picked up arms and are secretly working with the Ukrainian intelligence and all of that, right? Sort of Hogan's Heroes in a way. And what they've been doing is they've been blowing up a lot of stuff. And one thing I read yesterday, was some of the people were wondering whether it's actually the partisans who blew up this warehouse in Kherson rather than a missile. Regardless, missiles are going after things like this. And the other thing, I read a very long thing last night about an analysis of how the Russians were using their logistics. And basically it was saying the Russians first of all, they're still transporting a lot of their logistics like by hand. I mean, it's kind of crazy what they're doing, classic Russian, but they're putting a lot of their ammunition like next to train stations and things where they can, transport them, but literally like huge piles of them next to each other near the train station. So what happens is the Ukrainians come and blow up one pile. And of course, what does it do? It sets off all the other ones. So the Russians are still not doing very smart things. Some of the Russian, I talked about the military bloggers, and some of these guys are saying, I saw a translation today saying that some of the Russians are now saying that they are having a shortfall of artillery shells. In other words, of the bullets for their guns, for the artillery, for the howitzers. So very interesting that some of this stuff is causing problems. So anyway, and good job, mods. I see you're doing good work over on TikTok. As always, TikTok is giving more trouble than everywhere else. Elise just threw in, I heard from a Ukrainian source today that they completely flattened 9 ammunition dumps or bases in occupied territory. This could be huge. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. I didn't see 9. That is a lot. But they've been going after a lot of them recently. And the thought is that they're using the weapons they got from us, from the Brits may have arrived already. There were 3 coming in from the Brits, 4 from us, from the US. And I think the Germans may be the ones that were sending some more. And actually, the Brits were going to send even more. The Brits, I think, promised an initial 3, and then maybe 3 or 4 more that the Norwegians permitted them to send, because the Norwegians are basically sending the Brits, their rocket launchers that the Brits can then use for themselves, while the Brits give away their own rockets and their launchers to the Ukrainians. So it's great. I mean, they need more. Even the independent Western analyses have said, thank you, Dan, have said that the Ukrainians might need between 50 to 100 of these rocket launchers. And so far combined, maybe we've given them 8, maybe we've promised 16, but we promised nothing like 50 to 100. So, that needs to happen. More of my hot water. Okay, Ukraine is denying. There was a report by the Russians claiming that they had destroyed 2 of those rocket systems. They're called HIMARS, that they had destroyed 2 of the medium-range rocket systems, and meaning the actual guns themselves. And the Ukrainians say it's false. So who knows? My guess is if they were actually blown up, I can't imagine the Ukrainians saying it was false, but nonetheless, that's where that stands. We get into my favorite topic, Germany, although I will start this by saying there's actually a good German story following the bad German story, so it's not all bad. But Chancellor Scholz, the German leader, says Germany is ready to give Ukraine security guarantees. Oh, there's a catch. There's a catch. Thank you for the hat, Amanda. But not NATO-style security guarantees. So listen to this. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz told the broadcaster ARD that Germany is discussing with allies giving Ukraine security guarantees, but these will not be the same as for a member of NATO. In March, the Ukrainian delegation in the peace talks with Russia said Ukraine was seeking NATO-style security guarantees from the West. So let me tell you what that means. That means that Ukraine was seeking, when the talks were on, they were saying, okay, we're willing to reach a peace deal with the Russians, but in order to reach this peace deal, we want to guarantee that Russia's not going to invade us again. And as part of that guarantee, we want to guarantee that if Russia invades us, you'll go to war. You are literally guaranteeing our security. And that means someone invades us, you will be side by side with us fighting them. So that just like with the NATO guarantee, it basically stops anybody from attacking you because they know they're not just going to war with you, Ukraine, they're going to war with all of NATO. Well, what Schultz just said is, oh, no, 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 no. We're not going to actually promise to go to war if you're attacked. So what's the security guarantee? What is short of going to war? Short of going to war is we'll provide you with lots of weapons. Well, Ukraine's already getting lots of weapons. So they don't need a guarantee for that. It's already happening, right? And one would assume the next time Russia attacks, it'll happen again. We'll give them weapons. So what is this nebulous guarantee? The guarantee is total bullshit, is what this guarantee is. And, you know, it's just, again, Schultz being Schultz is talking out of both sides of his mouth. Usually Schultz does it where it's like good cop, bad cop. Now he's being good cop and bad cop combined because he's saying, oh, it's not going to be NATO, but it'll be a guarantee. And you're like, what are you even talking about? It's utter bullshit. I mean, I'll just put it out there. There is no guarantee that NATO can make. For example, what if NATO were to promise, oh, but this time there wasn't a guarantee. Thank you, Danny, or Dan. I keep saying Danny, Dan. What if what NATO could promise? Well, this time we'll give you a written guarantee that will provide weapons. Well, how does the written guarantee anything anyway? Like, what's the difference? Anyway, you get it. It's all of these guys being goofballs. The good German opposition leaders are pushing the Bundestag, or are going to push the Bundestag, which is the German parliament, on supplying Ukraine with armored personnel carriers. The Christian Democratic Union and the Christian Social Union in Bavaria, known as the Union parties, are demanding the German government hand over 200 Fuchs armored personnel carriers to Ukraine, according to a parliamentary motion for a resolution seen by Der Spiegel. There you go. So that's kind of cool. I don't know whether that has any impact. I don't know whether that means there's any chance of it, something happening. But nonetheless, it's nice to see some of the parties still rabble rousing and saying we need more. So that's good. Well, interestingly enough, Deborah weighed in and says, I wish they would reinstate the draft. Funny enough, Latvia is talking about doing just that. How's that for a transition to a story? The Latvian Defense Ministry has proposed a return of mandatory military service for young men. I believe the age was ages 18 to 27, citing the Russian threat as among the motivating factors. Such a plan would require a parliamentary vote. I was looking, and I believe Latvia's population is like 1.9 million, something like that. And I think, I'd have to look again. I think they wanted to get their forces to like, God, was it 60,000? Something like that. But nonetheless, wouldn't be a terrible idea, even though Latvia has the promise of NATO, which is good. EU, this is good news from the EU as well. The European Union is working on a mechanism to allow confiscation of Russian assets and their use for reconstruction of Ukraine. Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, said that the move is intended to restore justice. And they're looking at funds confiscated from the Russian government, but also from the oligarchs, from the rich billionaires, the corrupt billionaires. So that would be very cool. In the US, as I've told you before, it's difficult to do that. It's not clear that we can pull it off here because we've got a lot of laws, sort of due process laws. Thank you, Marcy. But it would be very cool if they could do that over there. Bloomberg is reporting that Foreign Minister Kuleba of Ukraine still has serious doubts that the grain deal that Turkey's talking about will happen anytime soon. You'll recall that there was news that Turkey said, it had brokered a deal, but there were details to be, remained, which made it sound like you didn't broker a deal at all if details remained to be worked out. Claiming that that they had reached some kind of a deal permitting Ukraine to export its grain by land via Turkey. And what Ukraine's foreign minister is saying that a lot of details need to be worked out. And he said in Russia, between Ukraine and Russia, and breaking the blockade will be difficult. So that to me means, but also saying breaking the blockade will be difficult sounds to me like he's saying this ain't, it's not just a matter of time. It's a matter of this may not happen, but maybe he is more cautious. Somebody's weighing in on the German military. Ryan Boy says, the German military is crippled by paperwork and politicians. They may mean well, but German paratroopers have been waiting 10 years for new helmets. You're kidding. Germany needs to sort it out because their private sector is genuinely fantastic. The German bureaucracy lets the military down. 10 years for helmets? That's insane. Wow. Okay, that's wild. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for that. I don't have too many more here, actually. The only last thing I wanted to mention was Brittany Griner, who is the women's basketball star who was kidnapped by the Russians at the airport, and now they're putting her on trial. Well, she had recently written a letter to Biden asking for his help. Biden on Wednesday, he spoke by video, I believe, to her wife, to Griner's wife, and basically said he's working to secure her release as soon as possible. So, there's no news there. It's nice that he spoke with her. It's nice that he's at least feeling pressure is not a bad thing. But as I said yesterday, part of the problem you get with this is in essence hostage taking. And if for example, we negotiated something specific for her, it puts a price on the head of every American in Russia in the future, because it means America, we're willing to negotiate and give you X, Y, and Z every time you kidnap somebody. Now, in the end, it may have to be a spy swap or something else, it may have to work that way, that they exchange her for some Russian bodies that are here, that's my guess. But Daisy is saying they won't give her up. There's a good chance they won't. I mean, she's a wonderful symbol for them. Thank you, Kanausi. African-American, Russia's pretty racist. I mean, we're pretty racist too, but Russia's pretty racist. She's gay, and Russia loves that. I mean, they freaking love that, because they're homophobic, but they're super homophobic. I mean, way more than our country is. And thank you, user 2117, for the fireworks. But also because of the gay thing, they were using that as one of the justifications for the war. All the evil Westerners and the evil Western values and all this kind of stuff. So Russia would like nothing better. At the very least, Russia will put her on trial and sentence her to 10 years in prison before the trade, because they want to make it clear that she's screwed unless America caves and does something. Thank you, Dan, for those. So that's my guess, is they're going to try her. They're going to convict her of something awful. And then some kind of, I know the voice. Not much I can do about it. I've got my warm water. But I will try to not project as much. I think because we did, by the way, earlier today, and I'll project less. We had a really good show earlier today with a Chicago pilot, Max, who went to one of the town squares in Ukraine. I believe it's St. Michael's. It's like Mikhailivska or something square. And the Ukrainians have put up a whole bunch of tanks and other Russian vehicles, thank you, Kanausi, that were blown up in the war. And they gathered them and they put them all in a town square in Ukraine, in Kyiv, so everybody can come and check them out. And it was really interesting. Thank you, Grandma, for those. It was really interesting. Now, TikTok, fortunately, lets me download the videos, so I was able to upload it to my YouTube channel. So it's on my YouTube channel right now. It's John Aravosis, DC, one word. So John, John, my last name you see above, and DC, and District of Columbia. And you can find the video. It's funny, like when you're hosting, you never know how it's going. And I thought it was so-so. Like, I was like, it was okay. People loved it. And even my nephew called me. He goes, that was fascinating. I was like, oh, good. Okay. So people really liked it. We're going to do more in the future if Max is willing. Max is heading back to Chicago. I think he's a Ukrainian American, but he's Ukrainian/American. He's both, and was born in Ukraine, moved to America at a young age, studied in, basically he's actually trilingual. He said his Russian, his Ukrainian, and his English are equally good. He sounds fluent in English. And he thought his English was bad. Fluent. I mean, he sounds like an American, meaning native born. Any case, it was really interesting just to see the different weapons, and also next to the weapons, there's a memorial wall they've got up for all the soldiers killed in 2014 when the Russians, remember back in 2014 when they stole Crimea in the south, and they now have photos up of the new soldiers killed in action now. And it was very moving. He took us up and showed us some pictures and stuff. It was, anyway, very interesting. Very interesting. So anyway, but you can go check it out there. So please do. Please do. So that's it for the Q&A. So not for the Q&A, I mean, for the substance there, let me jump in. Yep, just checking. Yep, Elise, we got yours. Thank you, Kath, for that. Let me put on my glasses and see if any of you put questions in here first. Hold on here. I see the Russian trolls are weighing in on TikTok. What a surprise. Who was that, Kath? Again, what was it called? They're calling it a croisette for the fireworks. Here we go. TikTok, Q&A. I have a voice like Saul Goodman. Well, I have a heavier voice right now because it's been bad lately. Hopefully it's getting better. Sorry. Ryan's giving us a little more feedback. Oh, okay, Franny, let me check. One sec. Once I do Ryan's, I'll go and see what your earlier question was, Franny. Thank you. Go look at my past comments. I said previously on the Q&A whether it was German reluctance or simply not having the resources to send to Ukraine. It seems to be a bit of both, but German military units are notorious for lacking resources. Units sent to NATO exercises frequently have to borrow from other units. Germany, that's insane. It's a genuine mess. So much gets caught up in the paperwork. The helmets they are waiting on for 10 years are the ones America has been using for decades, but apparently they need to do more research into them. That's insane. The last people you would think would be, especially wouldn't have equipment, they wouldn't have the resources, would be Germans. I mean, you would have thought the Germans would have been light years ahead of us. That's absolutely fascinating. Wow. Thank you for that, Ryan. That's absolutely like I said, I would have never imagined that. Franny, the question earlier. Okay, let me scroll up and look for Franny McDowell. Franny. I can add Sassy later. If somebody can add Sassy right now, Sassy Unicorn, as a mod on TikTok, I'm happy to have you do that. I like Sassy. Sassy's cool. I know Sassy. If we can add her as a mod on TikTok, I wouldn't mind just to have as another backup. But if any of the mods, Syndicate, if you're there or somebody wants to just look at that and do that while I'm talking. Sorry, looking for Franny. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Sorry to ask a little bit off topic, but is the threat of nuclear war higher now? Not just with Russia, but China and North Korea. My nerves are so bad. That's all I keep thinking about. I don't know. They're higher now. Thanks to Netlin for the pearl. Let me see. Well, first of all, China, no. North Korea, always, right? I mean, I always talk about how Putin isn't crazy. North Korea is crazy. So that's a whole other issue there, right? You are dealing with crazy in North Korea. So I don't know it's any higher today than it was a year ago with North Korea. I don't think so. But I mean, well, I think she means higher now than it was months ago, than it was 6 months ago, for example, we could say, right? And I don't see that with North Korea, and I certainly don't see that with China. But North Korea, I think, is always a threat. So because they're irrational, you got to be worried about that. With Russia, no, because only I can add mods on TikTok. Okay, if somebody can remind me afterwards, or somehow somebody remind me, I'll try to. Well, you know what? Hang on, I can do it. I forgot I can do it on my TikTok from here. Okay, Sassy. Let me see if I can remember. Shoot, now I'm going to need. All right, let me look here. Hold on. I'll do it right now just to get it out of the way. Otherwise, I'm not going to remember. You had to make that name as complicated as possible. Oh, there it is. Is it the first one that comes up? Follow back. There we are. Oh, that's a pain. I have to do it. Oh, I have to actually do it. Yeah, I've got to. Oh, this is such a pain in the ass. TikTok's such a pain in the ass. If I see you comment, I think I can just do it in the comments. Let me look. Oh, there's Sassy. Let me see if I can just do it from here. Yes, there we go. There we go. Now you're added. Okay, that's the easiest way. Yeah. Okay, good. Good. We got it. With regards to Russia, there's a couple things. One, Putin is never going to nuke us. Oh, and I keep forgetting. Thank you, Wofford Photography. I keep forgetting about these subscriptions on TikTok as well. Thank you for that. Russia's never going to nuke us. They're not going to rationally nuke us. Thank you, Grandma, for the Aflac. Because we've got our nukes and we'll nuke them back. And the biggest savior there are nuclear submarines, which I've talked about before. But bottom line is, the Brits have nuclear submarines. We have nuclear submarines. The French have nuclear submarines. Many of those submarines have nuclear weapons on them, and they are, nuclear ballistic missiles. They're the big honking, scary nuclear weapons that look like an Apollo spacecraft taking off or something. You know what I mean? The huge ones, and they're the big bad ones that can just cause a lot of damage. It is next to impossible to hit a submarine. When it's underwater, it is hidden, just impossible to find it. So what happens is Russia attacks us. They attack the Brits. They attack the French. And let's say they literally wipe out the entire country. They can't wipe out the submarines. And those submarines will then fight back and blow up all of Russia in retaliation. So no one rationally in Russia is going to use nukes against us. That's the first thing. And I say it could be irrational, but irrational is going to have to be pretty irrational, because Putin isn't irrational. And Putin on his deathbed, somebody asked me earlier when we were doing the tour this afternoon of Kyiv, someone asked me earlier and they said, well, what about on his deathbed? Could Putin do it there? And I was like, no, because on Putin's deathbed, Putin, thanks, Kath, Putin is going to be, thanks, Lynn, I didn't see the bumper cars. Putin on his deathbed wants to be known as Peter the Great. He wants to be Peter the Great. He's already said this. He wants to be one of the greatest czars who ever lived. He wants to be the guy who made Russia great again. He wants to be the guy who brought Russia its lands back and blah, 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 right? You will not be remembered as the guy who made Russia great again if you called a massive thermonuclear war that wiped out 95% of your population. And that's what's going to happen if we get into a nuclear war. It's going to be the end of the world. There is no way Putin's going to do that. It just doesn't make sense. As I said, rationally. Thank you, Ricky Ticky, for that. So, I'm not worried about, some people worry more than I do. But what I mean is some of the experts are a little more worried about all the nuclear saber rattling they're hearing from Moscow. To me, it sounds like empty threats. A lot of the same old empty threats we keep hearing. But so I don't know. I don't want to say don't worry about it, and then, the nukes start going off and then Franny gets pissed at me. But I just don't know. It's not there for me. Thank you, Jesse. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So there. Tyson, go look at my past comments. Okay. Does that mean you have a question buried in there? You're all making this like a maze for me. You said go look at Sassy, right? We already had Sassy. Was that the one to look at? Let me see if Tyson had another one. Hang on. Sassy. Okay. Yeah, and Sassy's added, so we're good. And I think that's it. All right, Tyson, I'm going to assume that's it for you. Thank you for doing doing a super chat for it. And and Nicolina does a super chat to point me to Tyson. I kind of like this. Maybe I need to ignore you guys more, and I'll get like 5 of you super chatting to promote the other. That's really funny. Thank you. Thank you for that. What if we all invaded Russia? Would Putin nuke his own country? That's a different question. He could. I think he would, if need be. If you had 100,000 NATO troops gathered in one spot marching, would he nuke them to get rid of them all at once? Because it was a threat to Russia? Yeah, he would. He'd go after he would blow up his own people, I think, to do it. I think so. So that's definitely a possibility. And that's one of the concerns of invading Russia, like from our part, is if we invade them, anything could happen at that point. If they're worried about the survival of their country, then it would be more rational for them to use nukes potentially. I mean, even though it means the end of the world, it still makes a little more sense if you're about to lose your entire country anyway. Kelly's weighing in. I think younger people tend to be more anxious about it now than those of us who lived through the Cold War. Yeah. That's, well, we may be too jaded about it, or we've had more experience with it. I mean, for example, we lived through the Cold War, and guess what happened? There was no nuclear war for 70 years. Well, okay, let's say 40 years, because Russia got the bomb 1949, I think I read 49 or 50. Okay. So then or the Soviet Union, then until 1991, when the Soviet Union dissolved, was 50 years, 52 years. In that 40 years, 42 years. In that time, there was no nuclear war. Yet we had a lot of things came close. 1949. Okay, there you go. Yep, things came close. Cuban Missile Crisis. There was also some really weird thing that happened in the 80s, some glitch that we thought they were firing missiles at us. It was a whole crazy, scary thing we only found out about in the last several years. But I don't think we're jaded. I think we've had more experience with it, so that we're like, oh yeah, we're back to living with every day the world could end. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I worry about it, but here's my point. I think they're overly worried because it's so new to them. It's so new to them, right? For them, the very notion of saying, oh yeah, there could be nuclear war, but it's a small risk, is like, what do you mean there could be nuclear war, right? They grew up where Russia wasn't supposed to be a threat, so we weren't worried about anybody nuking us other than maybe Al-Qaeda with a nuclear weapon that they bought on the market somewhere or whatever, right? This notion of another country nuking us is something they never had to consider, so it's totally new in their minds. So I wouldn't be surprised that they're more afraid. I'll end it with this because I don't want to overanalyze it, but we already had time to come to terms with it, so that the shock aspect of it isn't there for us. We're like, oh yeah, that sucks that the Cold War is back with a nuclear power, but our algorithms, our mental pathways are already in place to deal with that threat of nuclear war with Russia. We're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's this part of my brain, versus, oh my God, I never thought that was a possibility. So anyway, there you go. And exactly, climate change will end the world anyway, so we won't have to worry about nuclear war. That's hopeful. See? Thanks, Toe. That's a good happy thing. Hey, Grandma, thank you for the hat. I have been following the Boris Johnson stuff. I saw that a gazillion more cabinet secretaries resign now. As I was saying yesterday, I just don't understand how it works in terms of what's next. That's the thing I don't get. Yeah, always being positive there, Toe. Was it always think on the bright side of life? But yeah, oh my God, evolving. You and I did it at the same time. That's very funny. That's exactly it. I was singing with my hoarse voice, but same idea. That's very funny. My sister found the mug on Amazon. She goes, I was surfing Amazon and saw it, and she goes, I had to buy it for you. Isn't that great? But yeah, and well, the nice part too is both sides have it, because a lot of mugs only have one side, and it's often the side you look at. Thank you, Grandma, for those. It's often the side you look at so nobody else sees it, which is kind of nice to showcase it. Yeah. Boris Johnson is in a crisis to keep his job because much of his cabinet has now quit. And it's in England, that in the UK, that often means the government falls. But I don't understand how it works at all, how their government works over there. And, it doesn't make sense to me how it works. So 3 cabinet ministers, 16 ministers. I don't understand the difference there. I thought they were the same, but okay. Oh, I see. Are there cabinet ministers? Oh, cabinet ministers would be like in the US. We've got people in the cabinet, and then we've got other secretaries and heads of agencies that aren't important enough to be in the cabinet. Fair enough. Okay. So it's 3 cabinet ministers and 16 ministers resigned, and 1 was sacked. I can't talk you through it because I don't understand it. Oh, you can talk me through it. That I would like. I thought you meant, can you talk through it? I would love for you to talk me through it at some point. That would be fine. Because, yeah, I don't understand it. I did know your Constitution was unwritten. That I knew, which also confuses me. Although we have common law and the Constitution, though, which is interesting because we've got both here. Just looking here. Let me see. What's the little updates? Chegger says there will be a leadership election and they will become prime minister. Oh, I see. So, but you can't have a leadership election unless Boris steps down, though, right? Because you can't have a vote of confidence because you already had one and you can only have once a year, and that just happened. So either Boris stays or Boris decides to step down and then you have another leadership election otherwise, right? But there's no way to remove him from office at this point, I'm assuming. Am I right or am I right? Sorry. Julia, I'll get to yours in a sec. I just want to see if people have a little bit more on Boris to weigh in here. Pretty sure Boris only has 2 cabinet ministers left. Okay, Deborah's saying I'm okay. A couple of the folks on TikTok are saying I'm right. Okay. Ben Wallace and Liz Truss. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, the two real diehards. I see it being reported on Ukrainian BBC that he may be pushed out. Many Ukrainians were really upset at this. I'm a bit worried about it for Ukraine. While I'm no fan of conservatives, Ben Wallace or Truss in power would be amazing for Ukraine. But so that's pretty. Now, can he be forced out at all? Is there any way to force him out or no? No. They have the Magna Carta. I know. It's, but he can be forced out by the Queen. Oh, what? So the Queen would request his resignation or something? Or no? Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister we're talking about. Oh, God. And again, as always, I'm getting the yes, no. I hate this topic. She can. The Queen can't. Okay, I'm getting both now. The Queen can dissolve his government. But then what happens? He has to prove he can form a government? Oh, your system is so screwy. Then again, we like to elect people who didn't win the vote. So, I call yours crazy. CNN is saying he should be out by next week, but who knows? Okay. Boy, this is all over the place. All right. This is all over the place. Even as a Canadian, that's funny. That's funny. Even as a Canadian saying it's confusing. All right. The Queen can dissolve Parliament in an impasse, not the same as sacking the government. Right. Go watch The Crown again. I watched The Crown. I didn't like the most recent one. I thought it was just too nasty. It was too dark across the board. I didn't like it. The Queen was mean. Everyone was mean. Even what's-her-face, the sister, kind of got just, sad and mean. It was just too dour, the whole thing. It was interesting that, they made what's-his-face, Charles, the only one that we felt sorry for. C'est la vie, exactly. All right. Thank you, Louis, for the hat. Julia, I think, was saying something here. Oop, 1 second. Yeah, Julia before Daniel. Julia, I did some Googling on those claims and found nothing on it yet. Actually, I'll look again right now. So we're talking about there were claims, but unsubstantiated, that Ukrainian POWs basically were castrated. But there is nothing in the news. Absolutely nothing. No. So as I said, that's something from his mom heard, but that's all we know is his mom heard it. That doesn't make it true because, as I said, it depends. Where did mom hear it from? Did mom see it firsthand? Did mom hear it from somebody else? Did that somebody else hear it from somebody else? It could be. It could be. So there you go. But I did look into it. Still nothing there. Danielle, have you heard anything about Russian settlers grabbing apartments and businesses in occupied areas like Kherson? Yes. I'm trying to remember where. because I saw they were already grabbing apartments, which was obnoxious as hell. I actually mentioned it the other day. I don't remember where it was. But they absolutely have been moving into first of all, the military has been moving into people's apartments and things for starters. Okay, settlers, that's a good question. The military was, I don't know if I saw settlers doing it yet. That I don't know. In other words, the sort of the Russians coming in to settle. And also, I don't know whether there are Russian settlers yet, or whether it's still, whether it's safe enough, for them to be bringing in citizens rather than functionaries. They are bringing in functionaries, but I don't know, are they bringing in citizens yet from Russia? But I do know the troops have been taking over their apartments. Yeah. Because like I said, there was some story on that the other day. But they're gonna take whatever they can. It's free Bizir. It's free lodging, and free furniture and everything else. They're gonna loot whatever. It's more looting, basically. They're gonna loot whatever they can. Harvey's weighing in. 1922 committee. Somebody told me to Google that, but I didn't have the courage. Our meeting tomorrow to consider changing the rules around no confidence votes. Interesting. Okay. Well, PB&J, we were talking about this before, and what some of the Brits were telling us about whether support for Ukraine would decrease if Johnson leaves, because Johnson has been such a big supporter of Ukraine. And what folks were saying is just that Liz Truss and Ben Wallace, the foreign secretary and the defense secretary, are both, ardent defenders of Ukraine. Thank you, Abel Ketch, for that. And that Ben Wallace is one of the people talked about possibly replacing Johnson, and he's actually even more of a hawk on Ukraine. In other words, he's even more conservative, a bigger supporter of Ukraine. So in that case, not that a lot of us want somebody who's crazy conservative, but at the same time for Ukraine, that would be quite good because he's already a big defender. So, it depends. Hold on here. Because there was another. Oh, no, I didn't have another one here. Okay. Let me look and see if any of you guys have put the Q&As in here in TikTok. Hang on. Here we go. Q&A. What do you think? Oh, that's an interesting question. It's not you can't send gifts. That happens sometimes. That's annoying. Oh, wait, you can't do it on TikTok. Oh, Nancy, I have no idea what that's about. Hold on. You're not blocked. I just checked your account. You're not blocked. I have no idea why Nancy Wax, why you can't send gifts. Well, that's annoying. Sorry. Thank you for thinking of me, but it doesn't tell me. But you're definitely not blocked. So I can't tell you. It's something between you and TikTok, credit cards, who knows what, Me Handsome. Thank you for that. I always love that name. It's very funny. Let me see. What do you think of Cipollone's testimony or Cipollone's? Kath, thanks for the fireworks. Cipollone's testifying behind closed door for the January 6th committee, and why is he not already testified? So this is a question worth getting into, even though it's off topic, because I do go off topic for some of the big stuff. We found out this morning that the White House legal counsel under Donald Trump is going to testify before the January 6th committee. Thank you, Big Hawk, for that. The committee that's investigating the insurrection. And he is going to be testifying, I believe, by video, and it's going to be private. It's not going to be public. Now, what's interesting about that is he is the White House counsel. That does not mean he is the lawyer to Donald Trump. He's not the president's lawyer. He's the White House's lawyer. So I don't quite understand all the details of it, but it gets into different questions. In other words, attorney-client privilege doesn't apply because he's not Trump's lawyer. What does potentially apply is executive privilege, which is the conversations the president has with his top staff. And many of those conversations enjoy this privilege, which basically says nobody can be compelled to reveal that information, especially if the president doesn't agree to it, right? So that's the interesting, in any case, that's what's interesting about this. He hasn't testified to date because he hasn't wanted to. He finally was subpoenaed by the committee last week. And what's interesting is if somebody can explain the Q&A box problem on TikTok, That would be helpful. Thank you. What he didn't want to testify until now. He just was refusing to. He wasn't being helpful. And the committee finally subpoenaed him. I believe they asked him, because typically they ask first, and he wasn't willing to do it. Once they subpoenaed, he was willing to do it. Now, for some of these people, some of the people that are more technical, like lawyers, they want you to go through the process. They don't want it to be, hey, do you mind, dissing your former boss? Oh, sure, I'll do that. Whereas if a committee subpoenas me to do it, and I am a lawyer, I feel it is my responsibility as a lawyer to abide by that subpoena, because I'm a lawyer. I believe in the legal process, right? So it also, frankly, gives him a little more cover with Donald Trump and some of the others for saying, why did you go? Now, Trump, being Trump, isn't going to forgive him anyway, right? But nonetheless, it gives him a little more cover saying, well, I was subpoenaed. But it's very interesting. It's potentially big news because he also is somebody we now know in the late stages of Trump's presidency. He was not happy at the things Trump was proposing and was saying that many of them were illegal, what Trump was planning on doing and thinking of doing. So his testimony could be huge in terms of backing up the testimony of the woman who just spoke. I'm already forgetting her name. The woman who just spoke, who testified last week. So, we shall see, but hopefully more about the castrated soldiers. I don't know what that is. Why doesn't Ukraine do a Doolittle type raid on Moscow? Cassidy Hutchinson, thank you. Thank you. What is a Doolittle type raid? Anybody want to tell me? Because now I'm curious. I know it takes usually a couple seconds for you guys to catch up, so you're a little slow. No, I'm kidding. You're like 10 or 15 second delay behind me. So yes, what is a Doolittle type raid? I know Dr. Doolittle. Doolittle raid on Tokyo in World War II. Okay, and that was what exactly? But what was it actually? Extended range bombers? Oh. Oh. I don't know. I mean, my history tends to be modern. I sort of stop at the world wars. I'm interested in the world wars, but it just, a raid conducted by Americans in Tokyo was meant to show Japan that we could strike deep. Air raid on Tokyo from an aircraft carrier. Okay. Bombers had only one way in, no way out. Really? Could the bombers not get out? Oh, because Japan thought the U.S. couldn't touch them. I see. Interesting. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, look, we could bomb Moscow, but it depends who you're talking about. If we bomb Moscow, it's World War III, literally. So I'm not sure that's a very good idea. They didn't have enough fuel to fly back. Wow, that's a hell of a move. Jesus. I didn't watch Pearl Harbor because I read it was a bad movie, so I didn't watch it. That's insane. Wow. So yeah, us doing it would be crazy. Ukraine doing it is interesting. I still think Ukraine taking this to, now the problem is Ukraine probably doesn't have long-range bombers, and it might be too hard to get through Russia's radar to get that far to Moscow. Somebody did the math for us, and Moscow at its closest is like 440 miles or something like that from Ukraine. So from Kyiv or something, it could be more like 500, who knows, 500 miles. So you not only have to get across the border, but you've got to make your way all the way to Moscow with air traffic control and nobody else seeing you. Good luck with that, right? And I think that would be hard. St. Petersburg would be the target, but that's even harder. It's farther. I just don't think they could make it. I mean, clearly the Ukrainians have been good at sneaking across the border. That they've been able to do. But my guess is you go across the border. It's just like our border, right? Not every part of the border can be checked. You take aircraft flying low, so they probably come in with helicopters flying low, and the radar doesn't see it. I mean, it's a good way of sneaking in. But now I think it would be interesting if they sent one of their hit teams to Moscow as far as one of their sabotage teams. That would be interesting. Having something go off in Moscow would freak the hell out of people. Would absolutely freak the hell out of people. British and America could give them Tomahawk. Now, I mean, we say that in jest because we're never giving them Tomahawk cruise missiles. But if Russia were to use a nuclear warhead in Ukraine, then I think potentially the bets are off in terms of the weapons we provide Ukraine. We're not going to provide Ukraine nukes, but you might find us giving them cruise missiles and everything else. I'd consider taking a question about the U.S. It's just I try not to get too off topic unless it's a huge issue that's in the news right now. But, you could always try me. It depends. It just depends kind of if it's a big enough issue. Because I stick to Ukraine and this whole thing with the insurrection and the hearings is a huge issue right now. So I diverge on that because I know that's also a topic of interest to people around the world who are, following this kind of news. 553 miles to Kyiv from Moscow. Okay, there you go. Went for a walk in a park. This is funny. Went for a walk in a park in London today. Somebody had put stickers on the bins for dog poo, for dog crap. For what we call poo is the word we use nicely in English. It's like a word a kid may use, like poo. And it had a sticker saying Putin and a picture of him. That's very cute. I like that. And I love the idea, too, of this person walking all over town, slapping these things secretly on all of the Putins. That's very funny. Ukraine just fired long-range missile today, hit a huge ammo dump. Do we know where that one was in? Is that the same one that was in Kherson that we're talking about? Or is that one of the other ones that I'm already forgetting who brought up? Elise, I think, brought up earlier. Putins. I love that. Actually, the thing that I always thought was interesting was Putin and Putin, because to me it sounds the same. I mean, I know it's different, but I always thought it was funny, and that's one of those jokes that you make, and everybody else goes, "That's not funny." Like when foreigners will make jokes in English about two words that kind of sound similar, and we always go, "No, we never confuse the two." But to me, like Poutine, which is a dish in France, in Quebec, versus Putin, which is Putin. Putin and Putin. It's like, it's funny that it always made me laugh, but what do you do? It's Putin though, right? It's not Putin. Yeah, or Putin. And Putin would be funny as well. If it were Putin, wouldn't it be? I mean, like all of them. Because you got Putin, and Putin. Like all three of them make me laugh. But anyway. Oh, Putin. Harvey, what are you saying here? It's a difficult situation because the majority of the Russian public refused to make the connection between the Russian invasion and Ukraine responding. All it would do is put more public support behind Putin. It would. I mean, as always, you would have to, we're talking again about bombing Moscow or something. You would have to decide why you're doing it and what the strategic reason is for it. Okay. And you'd have to know that, in other words, you don't just go bombing Moscow just to bomb Moscow or send a sabotage squad or whatever. You do it because there's some specific goal in mind strategically that you are after. And it is, we want to freak out the people because even if they rally around Putin, they're going to be scared. We want leaders in Moscow who might not be on board with the war to see that now we can even hit Moscow and it might shake them up more. But you have to have a reason for it, a strategic reason, rather than just it's fun to do, China did China do that? I didn't see that. I did see that China's buying a buttload of oil. I read that today. But did China declare once again that they wouldn't give material aid? I didn't see that. Well, and that's a possibility too, Barry. Do a little raid just to show you can strike. Something to be said for that. Oh, tried clearing cache, still can't send gifts. I mean, one other solution? Well, two other things I'll tell you really quick. I'll be your technical support guy. For problems like this in general, you could try closing the app, rebooting your phone or iPad or whatever, and coming back, and then open the app again. You could try, well, the other thing is log out of or you don't even have to log out. You can go and delete the app entirely and then reinstall it, relaunch it, and log back in again, because maybe something's glitchy with your app, and if you delete it and download it again, it'll give you a clean one. But anyway, those would be my tech support suggestions. Lorenzo's, will Belarus attack Ukraine? So far, nobody thinks they will. The experts don't. The Ukrainians don't, and I think it was British intelligence that said they didn't think that either. Yeah, exactly, Mark. They just don't think so. They think it's all bravado that is intended to get to force the Ukrainians to move troops to the Belarusian border, which is far away from the other fronts with Russia, so that let's say 2,000 troops, 3,000 troops, just in case Belarus attacks. And these now 3,000 troops are no longer busy fighting the Russians where they're really needed across the country. So that's where they're doing it. So I think at this point, no. Putin wants them to, and so far Lukashenko's like, And as Lindsay's saying, she thinks Lukashenko would be ousted. I'm not a big historian on Belarus, but I do know he almost got ousted a couple of years ago. I want to say 2019, and Putin kind of came in and saved him. So he's not terribly popular, and there could be an uprising if they go to war. So he's doing what he can, which is basically letting the Russians bomb from within Belarus with Russian planes and everything else, and using the Belarusian threat, because the Belarusians have been moving weapons and all this kind of crap to the border to make it look threatening, to convince the Ukrainians to move more of their troops. So, a friend said there's a rumor about the British fighting undercover in Ukraine. I mean, maybe, it's possible. I mean, we know there was a New York Times article about the CIA being on the ground helping, but, my guess is I think serving as a liaison between U.S. intelligence and all that kind of thing, which makes sense. It depends. If they were fighting undercover, that's interesting. That'd be interesting. It's possible. I mean, I could see Johnson, with the way he's been talking, exactly, the SAS, with the way Johnson's been talking about Ukraine, I could see him having the chutzpah to go send him in, and it's the old, if they find you, we're going to disown you, you're going to be mercenaries, right? So I do this for a living. I do politics online, social media, etc., and decided to devote myself to doing Ukraine for the time being because it matters. So for the moment, I am a TikTok creator on Ukraine. Also about U.S. news overall, but Ukraine specifically. Canadian troops too. Yeah, I don't buy the Canadian troops. I would think Trudeau would never do that. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, same thing with NATO. It depends. It depends. I guess what is possible is, look, for example, you could potentially have the troops in Kyiv or somewhere else, and maybe we're helping train, at bases that are far away from the fight, so that our soldiers could get killed if the bases get bombed, but there's no chance of our soldiers themselves actually fighting. Now, I don't think Biden's got the cojones to do that personally, but it's possible. I think it's much more likely Boris Johnson would do that, but, because I think it's entirely possible that we already know the CIA has people on the ground helping do intelligence, helping coordinate the intelligence. So, well, I wouldn't have taken, okay, I would not have deleted who you just deleted. Even though the person asking about me entertaining conspiracy theories, he wasn't being rude. I mean, he was annoyed, but he wasn't being rude. That kind of thing, I would wait until the person gives 2 or more comments, because he could be a normal person who's simply going, why are you listening to these nuts? There's no way this would happen, right? So something like that, I would not have muted him. Just if there's some way to undo it, I would appreciate it. And something like that, like I said, you'll always see the second or third comment is when you'll see if he's a troll or just somebody who gave a pissed off kind of comment, right? Yeah, thank you for the Borg implants, Flower Lady. Yep, hold on. Now that the sun's going down more, I adjust my light down a little because it's less obnoxious to me. There we go. That's a little better in my eyes. Oop. Thank you for the sombrero. There we go. Oh dear Lord. No proof so far of the POW issue. Yeah, let me do the recap and then I'm going to hang a couple minutes and we'll call it a night, since I'm trying to give my voice at least a little bit more of a rest. Sasha's doing okay. She was kind of pissed off because she wanted me to play with her right before the show started. So she's now resting, but I'm going to have to play ball with her as soon as we're done. She was very pissed off. I do speak Spanish. Sí, señor. Sí, señor. No quiero presentar en español ahorita, pero hablo español, sí. So, recapping the news. 10,000 Lithuanians gathered as their Bayraktar drone that they fundraised for was being shipped off to Ukraine. Russia has not changed its tune on its goals in the war. The Secretary of the Security Council, Nikolai Patrushev, who's a big supporter of Putin, thank you, Kanowski, for that, basically restated the entire goal. Russia's protecting civilians from genocide. They want to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine, and they want Ukraine to be neutral, which is all kind of BS. Zelensky, the Ukrainians are now using heavy weapons from the Western allies to start taking out Russian logistics, especially going after maybe I need to sing in the shower to save my voice. But that they're using the rocket systems we've been sending that go longer distances to blow up Russian ammunition depots, which is fabulous. And there's been growing reports of these depots being blown up. We're seeing videos as well. There were even reports from Russians saying that it was getting pissed off that it was happening and that the Russian government wasn't doing more to stop it. So that was good. There was an explosion reported in Kherson, which is controlled by it's Ukrainian, but it's controlled by the Russians right now. Again, looks like it was logistics, some kind of ammunition or something warehouse. We're not sure. It could have been partisans. It could have been these weapons, but it sure looks like it was Ukrainians. Great news. Yep, other towns as well. Ukraine says that Russian claims of destroying 2 of the U.S. medium-range rocket systems is a lie. Thank you, Louis, for the hat and mustache. Chancellor Scholz of Germany says that Germany is ready to give Ukraine security guarantees, but not NATO-style ones, which basically means they're not willing to give them any guarantee at all that matters. The German opposition parties are pushing the German parliament to supply Ukraine with armored personnel carriers. Latvia's defense ministry has proposed a return of mandatory military service for young men. The EU is working on a mechanism to allow confiscation of Russian assets and their use for the reconstruction of Ukraine, which would be very cool. Bloomberg says that the Ukrainian foreign minister has doubts about ending the grain blockade, the deal that Turkey was working on. He's not convinced. And Brittany Griner, who's the basketball player that the Russians kidnapped, her wife spoke with President Biden by video, and Biden promised he's doing all he can to break her free, in essence. So there we go. All right, guys, I'll hang out for a couple more minutes, not too long, but no more Ukraine, no more politics. So we can hang for a few minutes, like hang, talk about other stuff. And then my work is done. Trying to, like I said, spare a little bit of time here. God, it's so freaking humid today. I can tell my apartment is humid. A lot of us love your country and your people. I'm dying to visit. I've never been. Thank you, Messi. Once I feel safe, I would love to go. Sasha is off all of her meds. I do not wear contacts. Nope. I just need glasses for reading. The mic, well, it depends. For you guys, I've got a cheap little Sony mic that works well. For those guys, YouTube and everybody else, I've got a very nice Shure mic that comes with a little box and the whole, not comes with, I had to buy the little box and the whole thing for it, but it's a super duper. I always tell people it's the kind of mic I can talk really quietly about too and be very sexy for everybody. You can do the quiet whispers that I think it actually probably sounds better when it's quiet whispers. But this I had for podcasting and because I occasionally do interviews and things. So it's nice to have. But I'm working. Somebody's been helping me on Misha, one of you guys, has been helping me try to use this mic on my iPad. I've got the right wires and it's not working. We're getting static all the time and we're trying to figure out why. He gave me some more suggestions to try. I'm wondering the Discord, we're actually working on it. I talked to my nephew who gave me, we've sort of narrowed down the categories. And I'm going to talk to Syndicate. We'll see. It may not be tonight because I always feel bad because he's all the way in Amsterdam. But if I can schedule to talk with him in the next couple of days after work, his time, we're going to go through but he was gone for the week and he's the one helping me set it up. So I didn't want to, he wasn't going to help me on vacation. Knowing him, he probably would. But my YouTube name is not the same because YouTube was being evil. So even though nobody on YouTube had Aravosis because it's my family, my YouTube name is John Aravosis DC. So I could always hold on. I will add the comment so you can see, and that way you can go over and see the earlier video where Discord, we were thinking of just using it for sort of a larger community, we could do some of the videos over there for the subscribers. I could have extra videos, maybe who knows what, for people, for chatting, for all sorts of things. But basically, if people want to sort of continue the conversation, sort of a place to go. And as I said, I could do possibly some special videos for some of the, for some people who are sort of donors or whatever you want to call them. And that way, because bottom line is, this is not the money. The money almost came to a point that I was breaking even and now it's just gone. So there's no way for me to keep doing this long term. It's just, there's no money. So Discord is one way of possibly establishing a bit of a way of me making money, but then also figuring out a way of making this community a little more permanent, Well, Syndicate was telling me he's got sort of a lot of ideas on basically you can synchronize Patreon with Discord. So we can use Patreon to sign up because it makes it easy because a lot of people know Patreon and it is easy on Patreon. And those categories are synchronized with Discord. So when you come to Discord, you have access to whatever category you've paid for, but I'm still trying to figure out, like, we've got the basics figured out, like, because I'm not going to make it a lot of money because it's not like I'm giving financial advice. The financial people can charge you $25 a month or more. I mean, they pull in the big bucks, thank you, Kanowski. But this isn't the same thing. But I'm trying to, in my mind, for example, hell, I can ask you guys, I'm trying to figure out the thing that I'm stuck with right now. Maybe you guys do have suggestions. The thing that I'm trying to figure out right now is, like, for example, there will be a base amount. You can contribute a very small amount and you have access to the public areas. You can contribute a small amount, probably not much, and have access to the private areas as well. Okay. So we're not going to make it much money to be able to access the private areas where we're all chatting and everything else. Then the question becomes, and we're going to do merchandise and that kind of stuff. And some of the categories will give you, free merchandise, and some of them will give you discounted merchandise, etc. But what I'm trying to figure out is, like, for example, for example, like there can be Sasha merch, like a $25 a month category versus $100 a month. If somebody wanted to do 100, somebody wanted to do 100, that needs something major, because that's a lot of money and that's a major commitment, right? And, initially was thinking like, once a week video calls with only the $100 and up donors, which might be one person, it might be three people, but it gives you one-on-one time with me, where if it's just three of us, then really we can talk about whatever you want. You can ask questions till the cows come home, right? So that's a possibility. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. The question though becomes, if I do that, then what do I do for the $25? Because initially we were thinking, oh, the $25 a month, it's not a ton, but it certainly is more affordable than 100. But for the $25 a month, we were thinking doing weekly private video chat or something, right? So I'm still trying. I mean, thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. Well, but what I'm trying to figure out though is like, for example, what would the $25 get versus the $100? Because I like the idea of the 100 getting the private video, but the 25 should be enough for people who can't afford 100. You want to be able to at least get them up to the place they can afford, so basically you're making more money. So like if they can do 25, what could you give them? Because initially I was thinking 25 would be the secret video, so to speak. But if the secret video is the 25, then what does the 100 get that really merits $100? I mean, obviously you're doing it to be nice anyway, but I'd like to give something other than a free t-shirt, And maybe it means $100 and up get free. I don't know. Maybe we do I was just going to say a private video, you get a lap dance on Zoom. No, but I mean, maybe it's a private video every month, or every 2 weeks or something. I don't know. But I want it to be enough that there's something more. It could be exclusive content, but again, what is that content? You know what I mean? I'm thinking the easiest content is me, right? Because, I'm trying to write on my Substack as well, but, I'm not writing a ton. Dinner, I mean, I would absolutely do dinner, but people aren't here. So dinner becomes difficult. I'm in DC. It's too bad because, like, if we were, especially this crowd, we're all over the world. The Sasha News Network helps, but from what people were telling me, if you pay $5.95, I may get $2.10 from what I've heard. So it helps. It still helps, but TikTok takes kind of an extravagant amount from what I heard. That's the thing. I mean, I would be happy to do it. I would be happy to meet for dinner, but, I don't want to travel the country because that's going to make it, that's just too much, especially with multiple people. But I would certainly do it here. And I'm happy to do it one-on-one here, for that. But that's the thing, No, I keep doing TikTok. Yeah. I keep doing TikTok. TikTok and this, I think. Actually, that's a good point too. Twitch is still going. Twitch, I mean, hell, today we've got 14 Twitchers right now. Twitch has always been doing really well. It's growing slowly, but it's there. That's good to know about the travel. That's actually interesting. But one of the things I'm trying to figure out, like I said, is and also, no, I think for the free stuff, you're getting this anyway. So I think I would move over there where we have bulletin boards and things like that, where people are chatting, where I'm chatting, where I'll go in and answer questions and things like that every day, things like that. So that would be part of what the donation gets you, is we have our own online community. And then for the higher donors, 25 and then 100 or whatever, or 25 and up, 25 and up would get of course, let's say we did a weekly private video. That would happen over there because that's the only way to make it private. So that would happen over there on Discord. and we do the private video once a week or whatever for everybody that and up. But I'd still be doing my lives and everything else. I mean, at some point I may not do the lives every day. This is extraordinary because of the war. Maybe I'll even cut back on the weekends or something, just so it's not too, I'm comfortable. I feel like I'm offering free legal advice. I can't do that. Wouldn't be legal. I'm comfortable meeting people. I mean, I don't know. I know what you mean though, right. Like I don't want some lunatic Russian or something, but that's an interesting point too. That is an interesting point. I mean, you're right. I would gladly meet with people if I knew you were sane, which is an issue right there. Meaning, you guys that I get to know on here, I know you're sane. So I don't know. Yeah, no. And I'll keep doing it here. I'll keep doing it here anyway. So don't worry about that jingle. But that's the thing is, I'm just here for the mic quality. Smaller crowd makes it easier to speak with each other. Yeah, no, very true. Well, if I ever get the mic quality figured out, we'll have it set up on the iPad as well, which is good. Yeah, maybe it is deep dives. Now that's interesting too. I didn't think of that for speakers. That's true. You're right. Some of the speakers could be for the deep dive. Some of the speakers could be just over there. That's true. Yep. I don't want to make it. Thank you, PG. I don't want to make it too complicated either because it just gets more complicated for me, But I think it would be fun. I mean, I don't know if my friends are interesting enough to have dinner, but we could. That's true. I could have my friends join us for dinner so we're all safe. Actually, my friend Damien is a hoot. So Damien would be a riot having dinner with us. Not that my friend Matt isn't a hoot, but I mean, Matt's cool. I like Matt. Damien is just a hoot, who you guys have met during the lives when we were watching the congressional hearings. Damien just knows so much about everything around the world, just details that is really and foreign history as well. Call me precious, exactly, precious. We can see. Anyway, we can see. All right, guys. All right, that was just asking. That was some good feedback. Let me see. We shall see in OnlyFans. Yes, OnlyFans has come up. As I told everybody else, you can't afford me on OnlyFans, Dennis. Thank you, Constance, for that, or Constance. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off then so I can spare my voice. Dinner party at John's, exactly. All of you just show up tomorrow. But thank you so much, everybody. This was also very helpful feedback, so I appreciate that as well. Yeah, we'll see. I almost wish, though, we weren't so far apart because it would have been neat if we had like a lot of people in the DC area or whatever. I mean, maybe there are. I shouldn't say that. Maybe there are a number of you in the DC area, but it's one of the advantages of being virtual, but it's one of the disadvantages of ever actually getting folks together. It would be kind of cool. A yearly conference, but again, good luck. All right, guys. All right, I am going to sign off. All right. And I've got to read up on Doolittle. Exactly. All right. Thank you, you guys. I'll hang up on you first. I'll make sure I actually saw. Yep. Okay, good. I did. Oh, actually, Thomas. Yeah, Thomas, we didn't get up Brittany, but we can talk about that next time. All right. Okay. Thank you, you guys. And